Hey, and welcome back. So I was contacted by a viewer about making this widget for him, which is the Fine Feed Control Engagement knob. Kyle was given the machine and the knob was missing from it whenever he got it, and he doesn't have any way to make it. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't use the Fine Feed on my machine. I prefer to use just the quill handle. But hey, a missing part is a missing part. I'd want to replace it as well. There's a worm gear inside of the fine feed mechanism that free spins whenever the handle is disengaged, and when you engage it, it wedge fits a cone inside of the gear and allows the fine feed mechanism to work. I really like this style of knob, handle, lock, whatever you want to call it. It's on the knee, the cross slide, the table, the motor adjustment for the belt. They work really well, and if there's an interference, you can just unscrew that and get rid of the interference problem. Although here there's never really any interference problem, and I never have liked the way that alien knob looks, so I decided to give the original knob to Kyle for just shipping and the material cost, and I'll make something different. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, but if you've got one of these portable bandsaw tables, definitely do yourself a favor and make one of these wedge fit boards up. Definitely keeps the debris off of my feet and mostly off of the floor as well. I got one of these Cmg holders that allows you to turn the bit sideways so you can use that extra edge that you normally wouldn't be able to use. And whatever you do, don't buy any of those sucky gold 432 inserts off of eBay. I got some new ones here that are 431s and they work great, as you can see. The original cone is a little bit groovy, so the angle finder doesn't quite sit right on the surface. It is 10 degrees, and here you can see I've got it set up before I cut the new one, just to verify that I'm tracking correctly. This technique works really well for cutting a keyway in soft material, aluminum, brass, bronze. Not so well in steel, although I did get away with it. I would not recommend doing it. And if you want to see more about that technique, I covered it in detail in my power crossfeed video, so go check that out if you haven't already. When I parted that off, I went a little bit long so I could come back and clean up until I just see the keyway emerge. I got a really nice fit on the cone on the inside and the outside, which seats very nicely into the gear. The original cone is a little bit wobbly in the gear because of the grooves, so I did clean that up a bit before I sent it off to Kyle. Here's a trick for getting a depth measurement. It's not super precise and you got to be careful not to flex the ruler, but you can just deduct the thickness of the ruler from your measurement and there you go. As I'm sure most of you are aware, I don't have a DRO on the milling machine, so all of the machine work that I'm doing is completely manual. So I made up a centering device just for this job to be able to essentially put the back vice jaw and the center line of the collet block on part center line. The first vise is doing all of the clamping on the collet block, and the second vise, which is a drill press vise, is acting more as a stabilizer. I got to make sure that I'm careful about how I set it up so that it doesn't cause any deflection, which you can see I barely tighten the screws after closing the jaw onto the part, and it took me a little bit to get that down exactly right, but just a little bit of tension there is all that's required. The chips were a little bit clingy with this bit, so I found that putting just some low pressure air on the cut constantly would clear the way and keep from recutting any chips, and I got a much better surface finish. I decided to make the depth of cut for the flutes 100 thousandths each, which exceeded the chamfer just a little bit, so I did go back and recut that so the edge of the flute and the edge of the chamfer intersect. On the original part, that's just Vapo Rust and a wire brush finish from whenever I redid everything. So you can see that I've cleaned that up a little bit before sending it off to Kyle. I did leave some pits in it still. It gives it a little character. Like the way the new knob looks and feels. It's really cool. Doesn't look like an alien. Hey, I hope everybody's staying safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching.